Hello, hello. Welcome back to The Fox's Hideaway. My name is Kaylina, and we are doing part 2 of Scorpio because we are actually in Sagittarius season now, but your girl's been a little bit behind this month. So, lots of things going on. Been doing a lot more like physical work stuff than YouTube stuff. I still want to do YouTube because I feel like the stuff that I'm learning in the spiritual and metaphysical and witchy realm is worth sharing with people, but I'm working on what my future is looking like here as far as my other jobs. Cats and crystals is definitely going to be a thing. I'm trying to find a way to somehow get more involved with that. Just because I think there's a lot of opportunity there and I don't want to miss out. And I'm also doing a art market December 14th with them as well. So I've literally gotten a whole bunch of art prints that I have ordered and they are coming, so that's going to be a whole thing, and I'm just manifesting that it is successful because I had to obviously pay some upfront costs to get all the prints and stuff, and right now your girl will be like broke because my new little dude over here, Dorian, he is about ready to have like $1,000 neutering and teeth procedure done. So because he's got FIV, which is the human equivalence of HIV, and so to keep him healthy, we really have to keep up on the vet visits and all that good stuff. And something that can be kind of unhealthy for them is if their teeth get too much gum disease. And this poor little dude has been shaking his ears so bad. They gave him ear mite medication to kill off the ear mites that he has, but they're still like doing their thing. Here is my boy. Oh, say hello, Dorian. He's like, no, I just want to hug you, mama. He is like the sweetest kitty, like, on this green earth. I kid you not, the most snuggly little boy ever. And I am so happy to have him after losing Autumn because he is just filling in all the gaps of the heartbreak and sadness. So he is literally the best. I could probably hold him like this through the entire video. But we're not going to do that. But yeah, so a lot of work stuff, but this is important too. So part 2 of Scorpio season, that's now ended, but that's okay. So Scorpios, they are very, very complicated beings. They are very intense beings. I don't know if I said last video, I probably did, but my ascendant sign is a Scorpio. And so they're very much like the idealist. They are the signs of extremes. So they're pretty much just one giant walking contradiction. They can go from being extremely strong to being weak, to being independent, to being exceptionally needy, very passionate to cold, just like within minutes of each other. These Scorpios are just, they run hot and cold, yes and no, in when we're out. So yeah, we are the best and the worst of the human race, and nothing is ever half-assed, especially when it comes to our intensity. We are very magnetic, but we're also very emotional as well. We come across impassive and unapproachable at times, but that isn't what lies beneath us. We smile to the world, but we are very strong-willed. We don't accept defeat easily, if at all. Generally, we can be pretty flexible, though. So once again, you would think it would be the opposite, but it's not. We're the most misunderstood sign of the zodiac, generally speaking, because people always feel like we have a secret agenda. And yeah, I sometimes maybe we do. You know, you never know. There's just a lot of depth to us that not all the zodiac signs understand fully. We don't stop evaluating things. We are always watching. And at the parties, while we don't mind being social to a certain extent, we're usually the ones watching and taking everything in and observing things so that we can save information for later in case we need it. We do like control, so I guess that's kind of where I get all my control from, because Virgo, which is also kind of a controlling sign, and then Scorpio likes control too. So we like to have a plan. Yeah, letting go, being patient, not in my DNA. We also can kind of become imprisoned within ourselves at times, and this can also cause us to be rather destructive. We live with high emotions, but this can turn kind of negative, and when it does, it can create a lot of like brooding, jealous, resentfulness, and vengefulness. I like to think of the Scorpios as every like hot, sexy book boyfriend character that has ever existed, who's just brooding and mysterious and kind of dark. I feel like they all fall under the Scorpio category. For Scorpios, it's just really important to find a meaning in life. They want to have a purpose, and they want to find their purpose, not just a purpose, but a true meaningful purpose in life. They have very philosophical minds. They like having deep conversations, about the world and just the deeper meanings of life. They tend to be the ones that don't mind digging into the occult and like religion and just all the supernatural. Oh my gosh, he is scratching my chest, buddy. Oh my gosh, I just love him so much. He is just the best. So Scorpios have a natural sixth sense to them. They tend to have maybe some natural psychic abilities, although I feel like everybody can have psychic abilities. Depending on which ones are strongest for you, you can definitely develop them. Confronting the mysteries of life, because they rule over birth and sex and relationships, and regeneration. So relationships with Scorpios are very complicated. Just not gonna sugarcoat that. They can be very complicated to have a relationship with. You can be generous and affectionate, but at the same exact time be slightly violent and unpredictable. So yeah, how one is supposed to sort that out. If you are in a relationship with a Scorpio, you let me know. They're extremely loyal though. Like, they are very deeply loyal. So if they love and care about you, they are going to be loyal to you and they're going to take care of you. Scorpios always remember kindness. So if kindness is shown to them, they are going to always remember it, and they are always going to try to repay back that kindness. But on the other hand, if you hurt a Scorpio, they will wait years and years and years, patiently waiting until they can get their perfect amount of revenge. They will keep that grudge like forever. They tend to like tangible, practical, immediate goals. They're very clever with money and usually are pretty conservative when spending it. They may become obsessive and resistant to reason. Also, they are a very suspicious sign, so they tend not to ever truly trust anybody with their heart. But once we do kind of learn to trust people, we love very deeply. We tend to be very loving, generous, kind, and even gentle when the mood strikes. So as far as Scorpio women go, any partner to a female Scorpio, you better not have a faint heart. No cowardly lions allowed. They are just not going to work with a Scorpio woman. They tend to be very emotional, affectionate, but also rather demanding. Does not believe in sharing, so if you're into the swinging life, probably not a good idea around a Scorpio female. They can be very possessive and jealous. There is kind of no in-between with them. There's no, gray area. There is kind of black and white. Love is very important to her, though. and intuitions are always going to be like very spot on. They tend to be very empathic and can be very susceptible to the feelings of others. They don't care for coldness in their partner or the feeling like they don't matter or that they're just kind of being pushed to the side. They are not going to appreciate that. And speaking from experience, this Scorpio ascendant did not like that either. With her last Aquarius prominent husband, ex-husband, for a reason. Aquariuses, you guys are so creative and you're so a lot more free-spirited than I even realized. And that is beautiful and wonderful, but you guys can also be so aloof. And if you guys, like I can't say it for all Aquariuses, but like the emotional range of a teaspoon, to quote Hermione Granger. Like it's just, you don't like being tied down. You don't like being confronted and being feel like you're being bombarded or being criticized. And my signs, all except Cancer, are a little bit judgy. So it's no wonder that we didn't play nicely. So, but yeah, any sign that is gonna make you just feel like, it's nice having her around, but that's just not gonna work for a Scorpio. Like they're gonna be like, I want devotion. I want somebody to truly show that they care and love me. And Virgos are kind of the same way. We have this Cinderella complex, as I've been told. When hurt, we're gonna strike back. Like she's gonna make it hurt. Maybe not like physically. Obviously, I never condone physical abuse in any sense of the word. Not that way, but she may strike back by, she's gonna be one of those people that know exactly the right biting, stinging words to say to make you feel her hurt. Like, she's not playing around. She will be exceptionally faithful though. Like there's no cheating generally amongst Scorpio women, unless, they have another sign that's more prominent that might have more of a tendency to do that. She's gonna defend you to her dying breath, and she's going to defend you fiercely. So Scorpio men, once again, every mysterious, dark book boyfriend that's ever been written, I feel like fits into the Scorpio stereotype. There's gonna be that sense of mystery to him, and he's gonna just have this like powerful aura about him, but he's also gonna be that very unpredictable, super masculine presence. Not the easiest to form a relationship with him. Like they tend to keep their emotions under wrap. They don't like being vulnerable. They don't want to expose themselves. They can also be rather sensitive, and they can get a little bit butt hurt rather easily. They tend to feel alone and unfulfilled, and he's gonna hide that vulnerable side. They can also turn a little bit vindictive at times, and they can appear like the likable, super easygoing guy, but that's generally all a face. He can be direct and forceful, especially when it comes to the sexual side of things. Once again, every book you've ever read where he's throwing the girl against the wall, I guess that's a Scorpio vibe. Okay. He knows how to use his attractiveness to his advantage. And however, the best thing about Scorpio men, though, I will say, is they do truly understand a woman's needs, which in today's society, what? Have you heard of that? A man actually, like, knowing what a woman wants? I don't know what's going on with the world today, but, and I'm not just saying it's men, because I think women are having a hard time figuring out exactly what they want to. It goes both ways, I understand that. But speaking from a woman, trying to find a relationship is like finding a needle in a haystack. And that's okay. That's okay. That just means that I am not meant to be in a relationship right now. And I actually kind of think that's true. We're just gonna not worry about it right now. And if that time ever comes and somebody is sent to me, I'm gonna hope they actually like mesh better than the first go around, because I'll continue to evolve and my new person will continue to evolve, and everything happens when it's meant to happen. And I don't know if any of you are like in tune to the the ascension that is going on right now, but at Cats and Crystals, they're like all into the ascension stuff, and they there's a practitioner there who is so cool that she actually has like quantum vision, so she can literally see like the rainbows in the skies right now, and like the different beings of light that are coming down. And this age of Aquarius is about to get real, like, trippy isn't the right word, but it's about to get real out there, supposedly. We're about to step into this like new dimension. So that's why everything is just kind of crazy and hectic right now. Like, you're gonna start noticing that time is being really weird, because time technically doesn't exist. At least a lot of people theorize that it is just a construct that has been made while we're in this matrix, so to speak. And yeah, this is gonna sound really woohoo out there, but supposedly we're all in a matrix that has been created for us by these dark beings, and that matrix is breaking down, and we're all waking up now. And so it's gonna be a whole different vibe pretty soon as we continue into the age of Aquarius. So I'm not going to get too much into it, because I am not knowledgeable enough to really like talk about it, because some of it literally is going to sound like I have lost my ever-loving mind. So yeah, but it's gonna start getting weird, because I guess we're waking up, which in the end it's gonna be a great thing. Like, it's supposedly supposed to be like heaven on earth, and I would be 100 and bazillion% okay with that. So in general, Scorpios love spontaneity. They're a little bit spontaneous, but when you are talking to them, please, for the love of everything good, pay attention to what they are actually saying and conversing with them. They like having deep conversation. They want to feel listened to, which, I mean, really, who doesn't, you know? But especially Scorpios. They're very, very curious. They're like the studier. They enjoy looking into the unknown. They enjoy learning things. They also generally like recreational activities, especially anything involving water. They are a water sign. They can be quite social if they want to be. If you get in an argument, which is not recommended, even though it's going to be unavoidable because everybody argues at some point or another, just try to stay calm and respectful, because Scorpios tend to be a rather proud sign, and a rather serious sign. They don't always necessarily understand the whole good humored, like, we're just joking kind of thing, like, especially if you're talking about them. So if you have your moon in Scorpio, you're going to be very imaginative here. You're going to be determined and ambitious, very emotional, idealistic, obstinate, secretive, jealous, resentful, and maybe slightly domineering. So in this position, it underlines the moon's more sensuous power, and it also brings out its forcefulness. You have a very spiritual nature here, as well as a lot of intense feelings that motivates your actions. You like to keep your true feelings hidden away. You don't like admitting that your strong passions are the things that drive you. You have great self-control. Usually when you meet a Scorpio, you're not going to know the hurricane that is happening underneath. They are very good at presenting themselves as calm and collected, and it's only when you start to really get to know them that you see the tidal wave that resides in their soul. They're really deep, passionate people. And I know it feels like I'm probably making them sound like these kind of over the top, you know, people, but it's just they have the extremes, you know. They feel everything so intensely that, and even on a different level than like Cancer or, you know, the other signs where they feel things deeply, but how they react to them is a lot more intense too. I feel like where Cancer feels things and is extremely empathic, they tend to get like overwhelmed and like they might be more on the side of, we're going to have like a mental breakdown, cry for a while, and then pick ourselves back up. Scorpios are going to scream, kick, throw, and punch things to calm down. You know, they're going to scream and yell, you know, like they're going to have more of an explosive reaction versus Cancer, who might just cry in a corner for a few minutes. And I'm not, obviously, once again, I'm not speaking for every Cancer, I'm not speaking for every Scorpio. Again, for the billionth time, astrology is so incredibly complicated. It's also going to depend on where your other planets are within your chart, because some planets kind of overrule others, and some of them overrule like Sun, Ascendant, and even Moon. So it just depends on how your chart is playing with each other. Depends on what you are personally. This is just very general overall what tendencies tend to be seen within each of these. Just to clarify. So if you're hearing some of this and you're like, well, that doesn't sound like me at all. Well, probably because something else in your chart is counteracting this side. And it might be stronger than your Scorpio tendencies. So with Scorpios, they are the ones that can cut themselves off from painful like feelings and experiences. So if you've wronged them, they will be the ones that just like cut themselves, bail and run, because they're just not going to deal with it. And they are able to kind of turn off that emotional dial, so to speak, kind of like in Vampire Diaries. They just switch that flip, and they can walk away very easily from a situation. They really hate rejection. Like, they just cannot cope with rejection. They have extremely powerful willpower, and they're very good at observing things. They have a memory of an elephant, whether that's good or bad. They are going to remember everything. Again, my ex was, at one point, I remember him telling me, how did you even remember that? That was like years ago. Like, why are you still on that? And I'm like, sorry. And I feel like that's sometimes just females in general. Like, guys, they're so, at least most guys, they can just, if something happens, yeah, they might be upset in the moment, but like years from now, they're not even gonna like remember that. They would have moved on, which is what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to hold grudges forever and a day, but some of us women, we just are like, remember 12 years ago at 10 o'clock p.m. on a Saturday night, you did blah, blah, blah. And they're just like, where did this even come from? Like, we were having a nice evening and then you bring that up? Like, why? So I get it. Trust me, I get it. I'm, as much as I have some just like bitterness towards guys right now, which is not fair. I will be the first to admit that. And I don't, and this is why I know I can't have a relationship right now, because it would be incredibly unfair to any man I did meet if I still have some of this bitterness in my heart and I project it onto him. So that's why we're not doing that. We are know thyself, and we know that's not a good idea right now. Anyway, sorry, I'm talking so much about relationships, but I definitely feel like my Scorpio ascendant, especially since ascendants are generally how people see you and how you kind of project yourself to the world. Scorpio, I've got to watch myself when it comes to this stuff. Because rereading some of this, I was just like, yeah, I knew Scorpios were intense, but like, dang, we can really be intense. So Scorpios also have this great need to escape into fantasy. And that is definitely a part of me. I would rather live in a fantasy world. Like, I've been watching all the Harry Potters right now, which is why I showed my gorgeous Harry Potter tree over here, and why I'm dressed in, like, Slytherin attire, because we're just in the mood right now. But yeah, we love fantasy, which is probably why we're in the romantasy book section of Barnes & Noble and just scouring the area and buying out the whole store. Because we like to escape reality. We have an imagination, like, which is probably why I enjoy writing so much. That probably comes from the Scorpio side, because they can be rather successful in the imaginative writing, philosophy areas of life. Work is going to be very important for Scorpios, and like my sister, she's a Libra ascendant technically, but I see a lot of Scorpio tendencies on her too. So I feel like we kind of almost are in between those two, because some of these definitely fit my sister a lot too, even though she's technically Libra. But she fits Libra too. Like, she's an odd combination of both. They tend to be very ambitious, and they also hate being controlled, which, I mean, who doesn't hate being controlled, generally speaking? Even though that is something that she actually doesn't mind quite as much. She's actually a firefighter now. And obviously firefighters have pretty, like, this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna follow this chief, you know. So there is kind of a little bit more control, and not in a bad way, but there's definitely a more controlling set of rules within that, I would assume. And you have a really difficult time putting trust into somebody else. Like, you're just always going to be like, what are they going to do? Which I also have a bad tendency of doing. I'm just like, when's that second shoe going to drop? Because I just don't completely trust that you are everything you say you are. And that's horrible. Like, I wish I wasn't so much like that, but with my Virgo, I can also smell BS a mile away. So it's like, I always want to see the authentic self, which is, of course, a contradiction to what Scorpios generally do. We generally don't show our authentic selves all the time because we don't like getting hurt. So yeah. And I've said that about myself before. I'm like, I am just kind of a contradiction a lot of the times. It's no wonder some people are just like, you are not my vibe. I'm like, and I get it. I really do. I get it. Scorpios are complicated. Yeah. And then you have Virgos that tend to have the theory that we're like the bitches of the zodiac signs.
Here are some images of zodiac signs from the web. Take a look.
Okay, my computer is talking to me now. I did not ask for that, but thanks. Okay. Next, let's go into the ascendant signs. Sorry, I am just rambling a lot today. We've just got the ramble jitterbug in us today. So ascendant, which is me. You do everything with 100% personality. There's no half-assing it. You're either going to do it and you're going to do it right, or you're just not going to do it at all. You have that intensity to you. The words I can't speak. Dynamism. It's been a while since I've seen that word. Willpower and determination are formidable. Like, you are just not gonna give up. You're gonna be very persistent. If you want something really bad, like, even if you get knocked down, you're just gonna kind of pick yourself right back up and be like, oh, nope, we're trying again. You're a bit of a lone wolf most of the time, but you are willing to work with people. But you tend to kind of, like, be okay if you're just working for yourself or working on your own. Which, check, yep, that's me. You can be very strongly persuasive when you want to be and you pursue your goals. You're very clever and creative, resourceful, have loads of never-ending ideas, which, thank God, as a writer, that is like a treasure chest of gold for me. You must find out how something works, dissect it, study it before putting something back together even better. And you can do really great visionary work. You like to control from behind the scenes. You don't always necessarily love being right in the spotlight. You can tend to be a little bit more secretive and reserved. Subtle dominance here, but not like overpowering. It's more like a subtle, which is going to sound so bad, but like a subtle kind of mind control. You have a way of knowing what others are thinking. Yeah, that's a gift and a curse. Charming and witty. You usually are quietly watch and observe things, filing information for later use. You can have a rather sharp temper if somebody takes you there, and you can be a bit cruel and biting. And yeah, that is a true statement. Sorry for anybody in my life that I have bit their head off at one point or another just because you got my temper going. There's still one thing that I did all the way back in high school, which this is a Virgo trait of just looking back all the time and being like, I should have done this differently 12 years ago. But my sister and I had asked these two guys out to a dance, and you know, teenage boys, like, come on, their communication skills are shit at that point. And so we had asked them, and they kind of seemed on board, and so we were excited. And then my sister was trying to text him to get details, and he's just not texting back. Not texting back at all. And I'm pretty sure this was like over a 3-day weekend, so it wasn't like you could just go to school and ask him about it. And so when we did get back to school, because obviously my sister was a little bit hurt from that, and I don't like to see people I care about hurting, I literally went and told this guy off in front of the entire school hallway. And I did not care who was listening, and I did not care how loud I was being. And so, yeah, was that the proper way to handle a situation? No, it was not. And I still feel bad about it to this day that I did that all the way back in high school. And I really should just move on, because this guy, we don't even talk to him anymore, and I doubt he even cares that much. But yeah, so I get it. When we get angry, we get angry. Yeah, I feel like Scorpios are this weird combination of kind of the Cancer side of deep emotions, but also like the Aries anger. Like we just kind of stuff those two together to create a Scorpio. And kind of like the seriousness of Capricorn. However, although we may be biting and maybe a bit cruel at times, later on, like I just said, we feel remorse for it. We really do. Even if we don't necessarily admit it, we do feel really bad usually later about stuff that we have said. It's not uncommon to marry more than once. I've already got divorced once. Check. You tend to deal with more financial setbacks and a little bit more disappointments, which I have definitely found to be true, at least for me. But I feel like this is also my Saturn return. So if you're turning 29, 30, kind of in that range, this is going to be your Saturn return. So Saturn is in Pisces right now. And that's kind of an interesting combination anyway, just because Pisces is this very dreamy, kind of airy placement, and Saturn is definitely more stern, disciplined. So it's not always the easiest mesh up. But it says, generally in the end, if you have an ascendant in Scorpio, you're going to be victorious in the end. And that's probably just because of the pure determination that you're just not willing to give up. So if you have this placement, you tend to have a bit more like sharp features, maybe more of a prominent nose, large hypnotic eyes, brows that can be a little bit more thick and dark at times. You have more of an agile body that moves decisively, whatever that means. Pluto is our ruling planet, and also Mars, right? Mars? Yes, Mars is also associated with it. Mars? Yeah. Yes. In traditional astrology. But Pluto is generally the ruling planet. And so with Pluto, you tend to have a real sense of purpose. You're very persistent, determined, and imaginative. You can also be successful when making like a new start in a new direction. And it also favors secrecy, suspicion, jealousy, and at times cruelty. Which, cruel is such a harsh word, but I guess. So, in other planets of Scorpio, you have Mercury. So, within Mercury and Scorpio, you're going to be that questioner. You're going to poke and prod and question everything. You're going to be very much drawn to the hidden things in life. So many go into fields of medicine and science or religion and the occult. You can be successful in investigative occupations as well, just because you are not one to be easily fooled by anybody or anything. You have a very stubborn mind too, so very persistent. Solitary work may work better for you here, as you have quite a temper. You're known for your biting sarcasm. You have deep emotional intelligence though, and you will fight for a cause even if it's a losing one. So within Venus, love is very much all-consuming to you here. You have very intense emotions. You have a passionate sex life, which, woohoo, for your partner. But your love is on a very much a spiritual plane. And my brother-in-law, I don't know exactly where his Scorpio placement is. I think he might be Scorpio moon. But my sister said, oh yeah, he's definitely got the Scorpio grumpiness that sometimes is associated with Scorpios. Like he's got that intensity when he is feeling stressed and overwhelmed. And usually he's like the sweetest guy. Like, I mean, we love him to death. He is great. But I guess Cass said she sees the Scorpio in him from time to time. And within Venus Scorpio, you really want your partner to just surrender wholly to you. You just want to kind of dominate, which works in some relationships, doesn't work in others. So Mars, which is also the planet that can be kind of a ruler over Scorpio, is very persistent, has, again, a lot of that intensity, which I also have a Scorpio and Mars placement too. So this makes us very hard driving and resourceful, very restless at times. You have a strong and deeply felt sexuality, but is controlled by emotion. True fact. When negative traits show, they present themselves as like jealousy and anger and hurt feelings and resentment. And yeah, resentment is another really harsh word, but I have to admit, by the end of my relationship, I resented him a lot. And it was sad that it even came to that point, but like the love was gone. Like there was nothing left but this empty shell of anger and resentment. You can be ruthless in relationships, but often we just kind of resort to being a bit like argumentative, quarrelsome, and a bit touchy. Enhances our creativity, but also gives a desire for occupations that involve danger and death. And I see that within my sister, because obviously she's a firefighter. And she is like, I'm pretty sure trying to be the woman equivalent of Tom Cruise, because she drives a motorcycle. She's all into like Danger Daphne is my sister pretty much. She has that adrenaline junkie mindset. But heaven forbid if any of the rest of us try to do anything that's remotely in the realm of being dangerous. So Jupiter. Successful in art, makes very good psychiatrists, researchers, and politicians, or security agent in a government. Promotes skill in medicine, surgery, and therapy. Could benefit from an inheritance in your lifetime at some point. Lucky times of the year is whenever that sun is in those water signs of Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. Sorry, my nose is just so runny this morning. Ugh, stop. We were doing so good up until this point. Saturn. Obstacles show up as emotional difficulties, and sometimes like a scandal can take place. Drawn to secret love affairs that bring trouble into your life. When you achieve power, you may have a time when you kind of lose it due to rumor or gossip. When young, you often have health problems, but you get through them and you live a very long, you know, generally healthy life, supposedly. Uranus, you have a very magnetic sexuality here that is known as like the star quality. You have a penetrating mind. You bring luck through intuitive flashes of knowledge about people or situations in which you're involved. Lots of financial ups and downs here. Benefit from partners' money or by inheritance. Can be secretive, stubborn, and shrewd. And now keep in mind, I feel like I need to say this because some of you may be like, oh, that's me, so I'm never going to have financial success. No, it just means it might be a little bit naturally harder for you. That does not mean you can't overcome it. Anything that is maybe kind of naturally within you does not mean that that is going to be, you're going to have this sad life where you have no financial success, you're not going to be able to accomplish what you want. That does not mean that at all. Like, it just means you might have to work a little bit harder to achieve A, B, and C. It does not mean it is not possible. So I want people to remember that, because as somebody who has Saturn in some hard placements and, you know, some other tougher placements where it seems like, oh, you just have to work so hard to achieve whatever you want. You can look at that as a bad thing, or you can look at that as a good thing, because if something just comes so easily, you're not going to appreciate it as much. If you have to struggle a little bit and work a little bit harder to achieve greatness, then it's going to mean just so much more when you do reach it. So try to think of it that way and not get downhearted because you have a placement that is maybe a little bit more challenging. Yeah. Uranus can also be a bit secretive, stubborn, and shrewd, if I haven't said that already. Neptune shows a lot of depth within their emotions. They love to draw out the hidden and uncover the truth. This generation will fight more for open government and work to save the planet from like ruthless profit seekers. Knack for innovation and invention, attracted to science, medicine, and genetics. So anytime this planet travels through this sign, there is a breakdown in sexual taboos and revival in the supernatural, which, hey, I'm always down for that. Brings psychic awareness and interest in the occult, which I don't know if Neptune just came out of Scorpio. I'm not the best at following where everything is. I checked the other night, but because I feel like we've had kind of this re-interest in the occult, like maybe not right now, it was a little bit ago, but like you saw this revival of people like, oh my gosh, yeah, let's study witchcraft, and it's this new fancy fangled thing that, you know, everybody wants their hand in, and you see witchcraft stuff at Michael's now, and it was like this whole revival, and I was like, okay, half the people don't even know what it really is, but sure, get on that bandwagon, you know? That's fine. So, yeah. But maybe that was some other energy in the air. Pluto. So it creates people with strong will and penetrating minds, evolves around sex and death. These people are imaginative and passionate. They possess psychic ability and can be ruthless in getting their own way. So that is all I have for Scorpio. I probably will read like the Pluto placements here. So throughout the different houses. So if you have Scorpio or Pluto, I guess Pluto. If you have Pluto in any of these houses, that is going to be what this is all about. So Pluto in the first house is the planet of transformation. You have intense and magnetic personality and you seek adventure. You learn to be self-sufficient when you are young and are inclined to be a loner. Good points, you have great strength, relentless in pursuing a goal, potential for self-transformation. Your bad points can be inscrutable, vindictive, and ruthless. Your second house of possessions, this is going to be you are adventurous, about money and not afraid of taking risks. You like to diversify, and during your lifetime, there may be several changes in your source of income. You tend to become obsessed with possessions and finances. Good points are unique fiscal talent, resourcefulness, ability to win, high return on your effort. Bad points are you're a squanderer, selfish, tendency to be unscrupulous. Wow, that's a lot of big words there. Third house of communication. Pluto here shows up as you have penetrating mind and seek to learn as much as possible. There is an intensity to the way you speak and write, which you can often use creatively. Travel opens new experience for you and sometimes marks a significant turning point in your life. The good points are curious, good concentration, original in your thinking. Bad points are suspicious, manipulative, and you want to dominate over others. Fourth house of house and home. Pluto here, you can intensely care about your family and it matters. And you want to dominate in your own home. Your parents were probably a profound influence on you, and you may never resolve your mixed feelings about your early home life. Your latter years may be spent secluded and isolated, perhaps working on an important project. Good point, you feel responsibility toward the family. Bad point, you may suffer early loss of your parent or guardian. Ugh, nobody wants to hear that. So, fifth house of creativity and sex life. Pluto here, you are impetuous and passionate and will follow your desires where they lead you. You exaggerate the importance of your love affairs until you become intensely involved. You have a strong artistic bend. Good point, you feel responsibility to loved ones. Bad point, you harbor resentment against a partner. Or a past love, sorry. Resentment against a past love. Do I have my Pluto placement in the fifth house? Probably. I need to go back and check that actually now. That sounds a little hitting too close to home. Sixth house of service and health. So here, Pluto is, you have great power of concentration, are intent on seeing results. You tend to overwork yourself. You take interest in medicine and health and are sometimes gifted in the healing arts. Good point, the work you do can inspire others. Bad point, physical energy is often sapped by job pressure. Seventh house of marriage and partnership. Pluto, you are intense and dominating in relationships. You seek fulfillment in marriage and are emotionally demanding. Pluto in the seventh house indicates that you may marry in secret or elope. Business partners are likely to be successful. Good point, you are intuitive about partners' needs. Bad, strife, jealousy, and emotionalism in relationships. Which emotion is not a bad thing. It's just about like learning to control the volume of it and learning to control the intensity of it. I have found, which is a side note, having fibromyalgia. No, it's not fun. We experience everything more and heightened, and while that is not always a bad thing, it can become very overwhelming, therefore turning you into a person you don't want to become because you're just so like overstimulated all the time. But this also teaches you how to turn those volumes down, how to make it work. Because I also find that as you develop like your psychic abilities, as you develop your clairsenses, if you want to, those moments can also become very overwhelming and very overpowering as well. So you have to teach yourself how to turn them down when you need them to be. Because if we always are living in that high realm and we're not coming back down and grounding ourselves, it has to be a balance. You have to have a balance between your higher chakras and your lower chakras. And now we're getting into a completely different conversation. But it's very true. If your lower ones are not balanced and grounded, your higher ones are not going to be able to work properly. So it all works together. You start low, you get those in a good position, and then that's how you can learn to work higher. You can't have one without the other. It doesn't work. And so you're just not going to be balanced. So yeah, balancing out the emotions. It's okay to have those emotions. Do not take the Elsa approach and shove them all down deep inside and don't feel. Like that is going to cause another bout of problems and symptoms. But It's balance. It's balancing it out. In fact, the whole world revolves around balancing things. Yeah, homeostasis. That is our word for the day. Homeostasis. Balance. Okay, so your 8th house is your house of death and regeneration, also of legacies. So I feel like Pluto is going to fit right at home in the 8th house. You have a strong drive toward achievement combined with the need to analyze what you do. You are dominant and passionate in your sexual nature. Pluto in this house indicates that your death will be of public concern. Oh, so maybe you're famous. Good point, self-reliant and resourceful. Bad point, prone toward developing unhealthy obsessions. 9th house, house of mental exploration. You have an urge to discover the truth and perhaps change things for the better. You take an intense interest in other cultures and different religions and philosophies. Travel and foreign people may affect you deeply. Good point, a desire for deeper understanding. Bad point, you try to impose your views onto others. Yeah, you gotta watch that. House of career is your 10th house, so Pluto here is your intense personality makes it its mark in career matters. You usually have a flair for business and knowledge of how to elicit support from others. During your lifetime, you are likely to achieve a position of power and independence. Good point, forceful and dynamic energy. Bad point, subject to unforeseen twists of fate with loss of prestige. Prestige, I like that word. 11th house, house of hopes and wishes, and also of your friends. So Pluto, you are a strong, vital force in the lives of your friends and involve yourself deeply with them. You are something of a reformer and you seek to bring about change for the better in any situation. You feel intensely about your goals and may even have an obsessive personality. Your good points are strong, loyalty to friends. Bad point, vulnerable to separation or sorrow through death of friends. 12th house, your last house, of secrets, sorrows, and self-undoing. You have a compelling desire to understand, to see deeply into philosophical. Oh my gosh, let's say it the right way. Goodness gracious. There may be a secret sex involvement in your life. You are a private person and do not show your emotions easily. Good point, profound imagination. Bad point, may hide feelings of anger or resentment. Okay, so there is your Neptune placement there. I would read the Mars ones too, but I'm sure we will have another time for that. So, we have finished our video. We're concluding it. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you learned a lot. Once I get through all this round of the zodiac signs, I will probably do a little bit more segregated, in-depth videos about maybe certain areas. With if you have like Scorpio and another planet, what exactly that means in more depth, as well as like some more relationship combinations that work well or some that might be a little more strained and so on. Obviously, keep in mind it's gonna be different for everybody. Astrology is so it's so personalized, but at the same time it's not like, yeah, it's hard to explain because there's so many different aspects of everything. So anyway, hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope everyone has a fabulous Thanksgiving. Hopefully you get to see some family, or if you don't like your family, hopefully you just get to spend it, you know, surrounded by comfy blankets and doing whatever. So yeah. I will see you guys later for another video. As always, be kind, stay curious, always speak your truth, and I will see you next time. Bye.